We started out in 1981 here at Auburn High School with really about 12 to 15 students. I think one of the things I had was a very, very supportive administration. I had a very strong superintendent. I had a very strong principal. And that was one of the things that really helped us develop the program and to continue the program. My principals, when we would travel, I mean, we would end up at least one tournament, the principal would go with us and actually would judge speech events.
Unlike most teachers that you have in high school, Mike Burton was a lot different. He spent all of his time in class focused on the work of teaching us the skills of speech and debate. On the weekends would take us to tournaments and have high expectations around what we did. But then we'd go to dinner and he'd talk to us about how do you treat the waitress and how do you sit up straight and act like an adult. Those were the kinds of things that teachers didn't generally talk to you about. It went way beyond the classroom.
I was very strong on the fact no matter how good a debater you are, if you're not a citizen, if you're not a good person, you're not going to debate. You know, one of my national champions, he came in as a freshman, and I told him at the end of his freshman year, I said, you know, Andy, you're an excellent debater, but you're not going to debate for me anymore unless you don't kind of straighten up. And by the time he was a senior, he was considered nationally, not only a national champion, but he was considered to be a really class person in the way that he acted and he behaved. And so I think that was something that I, instilled in our kids, that, hey, you need to be a true citizen. And you need to be a positive force in your school. We started with about 15 students at Auburn High School. At one time we had 150 students in the program, and that wouldn't have happened, I don't think, without the support I received from the administration. And then the same thing happened at Eastside Catholic, a very strong president, a very strong principal that was very much in favor of speech and debate. And because of that, then we were able to build the program and make the success it was. I think the fine arts are so important, and unfortunately today we're losing some of that. But with speech and debate, I saw a number of kids. Kids that were so poorly organized in their lives that without the structure that speech and debate takes, they would have not been successful in life or other classes. Secondly, I think 2 or 3 examples. There was a young man named Brett Thompson that debated for me here at Auburn Senior High School. When Brett was a debater in high school for 4 years, he never won an award. Didn't win one single award. He won our inspirational 2 years in a row. He was the first kid to help others when they were going into the playoffs and he didn't. 3 years later, I got a telephone call when we were at a tournament on a weekend. It was Brett. He said, Coach, I want to let you know we just won the national championship for college. So I always use Brett as an example for a kid who didn't get success immediately, but got success in life. I think probably one of the funny things was that when I first came out of high school, one, I was not a very good student. And I was actually a baseball player. And I went to a community college, Clark College in Vancouver, Washington, where I went to high school, and ran into a great teacher named Orv Iverson. And I took a basic speech class because I thought it'd be easy. You know, as the old jock. It was involved in athletics, and then at that point he got me excited about learning. But what I found was those skills that I used in speech and debate, and even the skills I used in other parts of my life, really helped me also as a football official. I mean, one of the things I could do is I could communicate with an upset coach. I mean, I could go ahead and I could calm him down, and that was part of my speech and debate background. But I think my athletic background also prepared me organization, planning, structure, helped me in speech and debate. So the two of them really did dovetail. And I think today, as I supervise college football officials, the same things I did in speech and debate, communication, higher level thinking skills, things of that nature also helped me in that. Probably, I don't think a lot of people don't realize that I grew up was a rancher, was a farmer. I mean, they saw me as a baseball coach, they saw me as a football official, they saw me as a speech and debate person, and I don't think they realized that I grew up on like a 360-acre beef ranch. The other thing that's always interesting is I was in different worlds, and those other worlds did not know the other one existed. When I was in speech and debate, they had no clue that I was a baseball coach and a football official, and the vice versa. And so that was always one of the fun things to talk to people about is, hey, I have these other worlds. I have multi things that I do. Because some people kind of get hung up and they kind of isolate themselves into one thing, and I never wanted to do that.
I think that Mike Burton is deserving not only of this award, but in the terms of the number of students he's impacted, is just exponential. So I can't tell you how many students have become lawyers and doctors as a result of his teaching, but also from that, he had a number of students who became teachers who then passed that same kind of skill and expectation onto their students. So it's multi-generational at this point, and he's a legend beyond Washington State. So the National Award is really great for him.
Personally, I think probably being on the National Speech and Debate Council, being on a number of national boards and also state boards, and trying to move our activity forward and make it important to others. And I think that's been one of the things I've always felt very good about. I've also felt good about kids coming back, even just regular kids. A good example was it was another trip, another air flight someplace on the Jitney going out to the airport, and a young guy walks up and he says, "Are you Mr. Burton?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, I had you for regular speech class, not a part of your team, but a regular speech class, and you were the best teacher I ever had. And so I think that's one of the things that I felt really good about, that I had kids that, just felt that, I was a disciplinarian, no question about it. They never wanted to have a one-way conversation with Mr. Burton. That was what the kids called it. It was a one-way conversation. But the fact that they knew I cared about them and I wanted them to be successful.
Mike has always been a coach of everybody. Whether you were a principal, you were a colleague, he always coached everybody up in every role he's ever been given in. He has an intrinsic skill to be able to create a higher calling in every individual's repertoire, and I thank him for helping coach me up, and the thousands of other students and staff that have had the pleasure of calling him coach.
You mean you look at the number of people throughout the nation, and then to have a group of people say, "Hey, you are the best at what you do," it was a surprise to me. But it's something I enjoyed and I loved, and I would do it over and over again.